This is Fulcrum, a Star Wars podcast. Your way of tapping into the Force from a galaxy far, far away. Hello there.
Hello, what have we here? Here's where the fun begins.
Count me in.
Hello, everybody, and welcome in to Fulcrum, a Star Wars podcast. Today, we continue our coverage of The Acolyte. Today is Season 1, Episode 6, titled Teach, Corrupt. It was written by Leslie Headland and Jocelyn Bio, and directed by Hanel M. Culpepper. I'm Colton Robertson. I'm joined by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
Oh, what up, what up? Always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. And this show just keeps getting fucking better, man. It's hard to understate how much it leveled up within the last couple weeks, you know, because I was already digging it. I was having a good time. Mm-hmm. It was fresh. It was fun. It was intense. But, man, we're getting some fucking
the juice.
Wars, baby. Yeah.
The juice of it now. I don't know. The mystery has there's so many mysteries now. I don't know. It used to just kind of be who is the master, you know, who is the guy behind the mask, and what is the big OSHA. What happened that night? I guess that's been a mystery since the very start. But now I don't know, so many questions about Chimere, so many questions about Vernestra now, I feel like, and where we are, a lot of questions there, a lot of crazy theorizing that happened this episode. I don't think I've ever... Yeah. I've gone down the deep end a couple times last night, definitely.
Yeah, we went back and forth for about an hour after the episode, after we finished watching it, and it's funny because I'd turned on the episode to take my notes, take my scene-by-scene notes, and I paused it at, like, right after the recap, and we went back and forth for, like, 45 minutes before I pressed play, because I was just, like, I was locked in. I didn't want to, I want to watch, but I also want, you know, so it was just fun little evening of Star Wars focus for me. But, it was another wonderful, wonderful episode. Probably my second favorite of the show so far, behind last week.
Last week was nice. I was trying to remember how I liked 1 and 2. I don't know. I feel like I need to go back and rewatch them. I feel like...
I think 1 and 2 will be very, very rich rewatching them with context of where the story is going. I have not revisited them yet. But that was the thing, is that it was new, it was exciting. It was a good start to a good show, you know, but it's done what TV's supposed to do, and it's gotten better as we get closer to the end of the season. You know what I'm saying? Like, typically that's what your TV show should do. It shouldn't, you know, in theory, it's as good as it can get from the jump, and you go all the way at that level. It's not possible. So the build up we've had, I appreciate, and I think we're in for a good last couple weeks here, especially since next week will almost certainly be the
flashback.
What's up? The flashback episode. What was the first one called? Destiny.
That's a good question. Let's see. I don't have usually on the sheet I do have the title names, but I don't.
Pretty sure episode 3 was Destiny, because we're going with we're going with the idea of what's its companion piece, and that's next week. It's Episode 7, directed by Kogonada, as the third episode was as well. Fate, I think, is kind of where my idea is at. Yes. Destiny, Fate.
Destiny. Maybe it's like this is what you're always supposed to do, but now you're finally making your own choice. What would be, I don't know, like freedom? Or
freedom? I mean, like...
I don't know. I'm trying to think of...
I feel like Destiny has a positive connotation. What if the other side's a negative connotation? Like, this is teach, corrupt, day, night.
Okay.
Destiny, doom. You know, like could there be something there? Like,
fate could be positive or negative. Like meeting your, I don't know, kind of meeting your fate. You know, that's
either way
to think of the mirror.
I'm excited to find what the mirror is of that next. I'm assuming it will be. I guess I don't know that, but I'm fairly certain at this point, given where we leave this episode. But I'll go ahead and take us on a scene by scene here. Some of it's a little out of order. if there's any one gripe I've had with the show as a whole, I think its editing is a little questionable at times.
Yeah. It's my own. I
didn't strictly order it in a way that I thought the scene should unfold or anything, but it felt unnatural for me to cut off talking about it there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the way that I went about it. But sometimes it was unavoidable. Sometimes there's just too big of a gap. I can't avoid it. So, but yeah, that's been the one thing where I'm like, we cut away, we do like this 30-second scene, and then we're back to that where we were before, and I'm like,
stick with it for a little bit longer.
Let's let this ride a little bit, you know? But yeah, this one that stuck out just a little bit. But anyway, we open the show on a supposed unknown planet. And we see Osha awakening in what appears to be the stranger's quarters, mirroring the very first shot we meet Osha in the first episode, where she wakes up in her bunk on that ship and the camera tilts up with her. We do the exact same thing here, which was very, very cool. I liked that opening. Kind of a reset, kind of a restart. Like we're back to square one with her almost, is kind of what visually that was giving me. But she exits and finds herself on a small island in a vast sea, and she walks to the shore and spots a ship on a nearby island. She turns around and spots Chimera walking in the distance, and she follows him to a calm body of water where he disrobes and steps in. We see scars on his back, as does she. And this is my favorite scene of the episode. This is one of those examples where we have already, by this point, cut away and come back, by the way. And I've, yeah. And, they did the title drop, like they do the whole, like, cliffhanger within the episode where it's like, oh, she's on this big island, now we're somewhere. It made sense. It's not one of those examples that's like, ugh, why did they do that? But, like, it's just interesting that, like, I'm 3 sentences into my rundown and we've already cut away and done a different scene. It's just notable. Dang. But anyway, she turns around and spots Chimera walking in the distance, and he steps into the water completely nude. I thought we were going to get our first Star Wars butt. We did not get our first Star Wars butt.
Kind of.
I should have expected that.
Through the water, there was a shot of a I don't know.
We get a little butt.
You kind of see it. Well, I think front, the front of his body. It's kind of, you see his leg. You see him kind of frog kicking. You see his legs moving, but the midsection's very unclear. You're looking through a lot of water.
Yeah,
but
a lot of water there.
Yeah,
a lot of water.
So almost.
But yeah, no, this was still. However, Star Wars is so like it's. There's never been a character completely nude on screen, right? Like, no.
No.
There was a scene in Andor where, like, Cassian showered. Was he completely nude for that?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe he was, like, getting sprayed down really harshly or... What?
Well, no, like, he's like, relaxing in his little hideaway before he gets arrested.
Yeah. Okay,
like, I think he's butt-ass.
Yeah.
Yeah. Niamos, I think is what it's called.
And he was with that girl, kind of climbing out of bed. Maybe he was a little... Yeah, I guess... So maybe there, but this is at least
like we watch him undress and step. Yeah, no. So like it was just kind of, refreshing in a way. It was just kind of like, oh wow, we're telling a story that feels like it's being treated by an adult. And I appreciate that. Not that I've ever been like Star Wars shouldn't be for kids.
We
Star
need
Wars should
more
be for
skin.
Kids.
Yeah,
exactly. It's not something I've ever needed, but seeing it was nice. I liked that for more reasons than one. But he senses her approaching from behind them, and as she slowly approaches and picks up his lightsaber, he asks, "Feels good, doesn't it? To hold one in your hand again?" A lot of dialogue.
Homie just knew. Oh, there's
a lot of dialogue that is double entendre heavy.
Oh yeah,
and some not even double entendre heavy. Some just explicitly like, "I want you. You want like let's."
Yep. This is. I can't wait to see what it unfolds into. But at least I know that. Well, no, actually, I was about to say something. I was wrong. I gave him the performance, not the character. I gave a different character a little bit of light just because I think they're getting interesting. But he's remaining the part of the show that I am like, I need more of, and I need every bit of explanation behind him.
I gave him the character.
Okay.
I did. I did the flip. I gave Chimere the character this week just because, for that exact reason. He is the most exciting and most mystifying part of the show. I love how firm a grasp he has on his situation. You know, like there's a sense to him that is so deeply in control that is almost too good to be true. Like, it almost feels like he's pretending, but he also feels so in control that it's like, I don't know, he's probably not, but I love that he's making me feel uneasy, you know? And I think that that's, you know, credit to Manny Jacinto, but I think it's a big credit to Leslie Headland and the writers of this crew. Like, the way they are writing Chimere is, since last episode, just
so
like,
good.
and to think that was only last week. Like, I've been spending so much time thinking about this. I also had, like, roughly the longest week of my life last week, by the way. But like, it was just, it was kind of crazy when I turned on the episode last night and I was like, fuck's sake, it's been 1 week since the last time. Yeah, no, I've just spent so much time thinking about the show and dwelling on it and thinking about this character, and he's just so interesting. And I think that this episode, while last episode he got the aura going, this time we got the specifics, you know, like what makes him tick and what makes him interesting. And I liked that a lot. But, yeah, he senses her the whole time. There's not a single moment he doesn't know she's there. And he steps slowly to the edge of the water, and he speaks to Osha about her stance, giving her advice on how to improve it. And she tells him to stay where he is, and he teases that if she isn't going to join him, he would like to put his clothes on. And that was another one of those, like, okay. And we'll talk more about the relationship dynamics the more they come to nearly blows, nearly something else. Hard to tell.
This one was pretty clear, though. I mean, it was
he's
either join me and become my pupil, or join me in this pool or water right now. So he's. I guess at first he was acting like the drunken fool, and whenever you brought up that, like, maybe he isn't in full control, but at least he's acting like he is. You know, he could very well be, and maybe he is just that powerful. And because right when she touches his saber, he's like, "Hey, you know, I knows that she's there." I mean, obviously, the dude brought her to this island. He put her in the bed. Like, this is where he stays, I guess. I don't know. Maybe it's one of his camps. Maybe this is. Seems that he stays here quite often.
I mean,
though.
I think this is where May came to meet him at the end of the first episode. Like, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So, like, May knows where this is because she didn't come here with Chimere. She came here to meet him. Which is important. That will be of note going forward whenever they decide to try and find him.
Okay, so I guess maybe this isn't Chimere's true home then. If he's wanting to be truly incognito, I don't know, it could be, and only May knows. And
well, I have theories about. I mean, the scary theory that I don't love because I love Vernestra is that she was his master, and obviously something bad happened. Regardless of who his master was, something bad happened. It just so happens that at this present moment, I believe there's little to no way it wasn't Vernestra.
Those scars are a little too whippy.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, that's what they emulate anyway. The other thing that they emulate a little bit is Force Lightning, which I think is interesting. He wants to, wants to kill his master. That's Sith shit. You know, like it's...
Okay, I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's the other thing I could distinctly see it. So, like, he could be talking about his Sith master. He never confirms that his Jedi master did it. You know, she just goes, "Your Jedi master," and he just kind of looks down and then knocks on his Cortosis helmet and is like, "Cortosis, check this shit out," you know? There is more to it, you know? I think he's manipulating her more than anything.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I severely doubt that whatever caused that on his back was the event where his Jedi Master, I'm assuming Vernestra, cast him aside. I think it's a result of his Jedi Master casting him aside, and therein, like, I'm sorry to be jumping the gun like this, my expectation is that Chimere was having dark, sinister evil feelings.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Vernestra sensed those. She, and knowing stuff from the books, gave him every opportunity. Like, tried her best. But she's come in contact with the dark side before. She's seen it. She knows what it does. And I think she would know when somebody's too far gone.
Okay.
But that's the other thing too, is that, like, is anybody ever too far gone? And is that the dilemma? Is that why he feels neglected? Is that why he feels abandoned? Is that why he feels cast aside? Now, I think there's been something that she's returned to that almost feels like she's recalling something, where she says something to tip the scales.
Mm-hmm.
My suspicion is that's something Kymir used to say.
Yeah, it's obviously going to be brought up. I don't know. It feels like it is a callback to something, and sadly, this doesn't paint Vernestra in the best light. But if it is that route of, like, giving him every single chance, and maybe it's like a Luke and Kylo thing where Luke felt super. That's
why Kylo's theme plays whenever Kymir's on screen. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's exactly what's going on. I think he's seen a extremely similar trajectory to Kylo. You know what I'm saying? And I think that might be the connection we're looking at. You know, and not to mention that there are plenty of Reylo parallels here between Osha and Kymir. Like, that's they are doing a lot visually and era-wise to parallel the prequels, but the legitimate mechanics of the story feel much more akin to The Last Jedi, specifically The Last Jedi, by the way.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say the sequels. I would say specifically The Last Jedi, which, for me, is just exactly what I want. But it's been enticing, and I'm excited to dig more into it as we get a little further into the episode. But I figured I'd go ahead and toss that out now.
That's how juicy it is, though. It's a very juicy episode. So,
but he emerges from the water fully nude, and he senses her thoughts. Probably not every single one of those, am I right? But he says she's wondering if it's honorable to kill him like this, and I was like, what, buck ass? But no, here now, removed from battle. In the heat of the moment, it's a fight. Hours removed, it's vengeance. Is that right? And he comments on how she wonders how he can read her mind. And he says he can't. Your anger betrays your thoughts. That's my favorite line of the episode. Because it just reminds me of Return of the Jedi. Whenever Vader is trying to search for Luke. And sister, you have a sister. Your thoughts betray you, my son, or whatever. Like, it just that rang in my head there. But as he puts on his clothes, she questions why he brought her here. Why not kill her? She inquires for the health of Soul and then May, and he confirms that he did not kill them. But it's interesting that she asked about Soul first. He says it's a special relationship, master and pupil.
Mm-hmm.
I also love that he refuses to say Padawan.
Yep. Hates pupil. That's it.
Yep.
That's it. He loves his pupil. I think that's the angle that at least I feel like is a lot more important, is that whether it's a literal transfer of power, I don't know if it's that, but at least, like, if you are a master and you have a Padawan, say Vernestra and Kymir were that, and Kymir does go down this path, Vernestra has to at least have some sort of guilt and feel like she failed. Like, I'm the master, it's my responsibility to make sure this doesn't happen. Maybe it was truly Kymir just going down, but Vernestra would at least feel some guilt, just like Luke feels the guilt even though he thought Kylo was fully gone. He thought he was doing the right thing. Even at that moment, there's still guilt to be had. And it could just be that, but, like, it feels, I don't know. He says a line to Osha saying that, like, that's not Soul's power. That's your power.
It's your
Osha.
power. Yeah.
And someone should teach you that. And it feels that's there's some link between a master and a pupil or whatever. A Padawan. At any point, it's like almost like a bloodline thing, but a force line. And at least Sith, it feels that like if you kill your master, they want you to like kill them. It's almost like the Sith's goal is to like, I'm either strong enough to keep you down and be my apprentice, or you kill me and take over, and you seemingly absorb my power, and they become more powerful. It's like they all continue through the next person almost.
Well, and I think there's also, and I would love if it is a literal like force life thing, like or life force, I should say. I don't know why I said it backwards. Like that is transferred into an apprentice. But there's also the idea that it could be more a metaphorical sense, you know, like Sith, they are not selfless enough to want to further their cause. You know, like that's why I think it probably is a more literal thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, because one of the thoughts I had was if apprentices continue to kill their masters and the masters had previously killed their apprentices, it logically just means that the Sith are growing more and more powerful. They've been climbing the ladder. You know, it's like that hypothetical where you ask your barber what who his barber is, and then you climb the ladder until you get to the best barber in the world. You know, like that's the Sith operate under the same principle. You know, like
the barber principle. Wow,
the barber principle. You know, like they kill their master. Therein, they are the most powerful Sith that has ever existed because that Sith killed their master, and that master killed their master, and so on and so forth. You know, so like that's the other thing that's unclear is but I like to think of it in a more mystical sense. I do like to think about it as more of there is a transfer of essence almost. At least that's what Rise of Skywalker makes it seem like the most. You know, Return of the Jedi does an interesting thing that I think is much more like what I was talking about. And it's more like kind of what Chimera is going for here, the corruption of the Jedi. Like, if you strike me, like what Obi-Wan says in Episode 4, strike me down and I will become more powerful than you can imagine. You know, like, you kill me here, I've destroyed you, you know, and now you are worse off than you've ever been. And, and so there's all sorts of ways you can take it. The Rise of Skywalker, I think, makes it more literal. He's like, you know, kill me and I become you. You know,
and then Rey hearing every Jedi's voice being like, "We're with you." You know, kind of. It could be metaphorical, and it could just be that they're not literally with her, but just there in spirit, and it's not a literal power thing. But at least the connection that I see with Chimera is, I feel like it's if he can have a pupil that can kill a Jedi without a weapon, then that means for certain that he could. You know, if you can teach it to someone else, then you are I don't know, you can do it as well. And I feel that, you know, he doesn't fear anybody, but whoever gave him that scar, you know, I feel like that's the person he fears. You know, there's only one person he fears, and I wonder if this is just like kind of like his next way of being like, I am not even going to try to come back and challenge my master until I have taught an apprentice to kill a Jedi without a weapon, so that now, you know, maybe it's just a side mission completely for Chimera to boost his own strength.
We speculated pretty early on that before we knew for sure it was Chimera, that the stranger was training an apprentice to help him kill his master. You know, it's the final lesson, you know. What happens when you graduate? What happens when you get your final lesson and you've done it? You know, like you probably go and kill whoever is training or has trained Chimera. You know, like and that's so. I think that with his whole thing being, you know, freedom, and he wants to be able to practice his power how he sees fit. The thing about the rule of two is that it's always been alienating. It's always been, you know, I'm the master, you're the apprentice. We are two very singular entities. What he says at the end of this episode with the power of two, I think he wants to flip that on its head. Like, he wants the rule of two to be more about the power of two than it is the warring Sith master and apprentice. I think he truly does seek an apprentice who can be his partner, not so much his...
That's why the romance is there, maybe. That's why it makes a little bit more sense, that it isn't... He doesn't want a competitive relationship. He wants a mutual...
He wants a
mutual
and and obviously the dark side is corruptive, so that's not possible. That's the other thing that's that's his hubris, is that he thinks he can control that. He thinks he can do that, but if you swayed someone to the dark side, there's like he says, when she's like, you can't, I can't trust you. He's like, you shouldn't. But you should learn to trust yourself. There's always going to be warring factions. But I do think, at least in the interim, he's seeking the power of two to kill his master. I think is the goal.
Okay, recognizing he can't do it on his own, he needs.
Yeah, he needs a second.
I guess
he needs help. There
was that demonstration in episode 3 of the thread and like how one is whatever, but when two people came together, they could stand up against Mother Anastasia, and for a little bit, I guess. So maybe there is that'll come back around, and it's just a literal 2 is greater than 1. I don't know, in any area, I guess it's gonna make them stronger. But
to see them connect back to episode 3 with that, power of 1, the power of 2, the power of many, do we see the power of many unfold? Like, is there any chance that we do get a culmination on whatever island this is, where maybe we get a paralleling moment to the end of episode 4, whenever the sun goes down and May goes, he's here. Like, what if Chimere has a he's here moment? Yeah, or she's here. One way or the other. Whoever his his Sith master is. Because, like, I don't know. We don't have much time left, and with next week being another flashback episode, I'm interested in how this story culminates in essentially one episode. We do, and that's me banking that the next episode is entirely flashback again, even though I'd been thinking about it, and I don't think it needs to be. Like, Soul's perspective of those events is not much different. You know what I'm saying? Like, we see a lot of the stuff with Soul. There's only a few details that we don't see.
Yeah. I guess I wouldn't want it to be the whole episode anyways. I think it's coming. We're going to get some explanation at the very least, which will just probably fade into flashback, and that's how we'll see it. But at least Soul is talking to May and giving him his spiel, and we'll probably just get what happened that night through his blah, I thought we were going to get Chimere telling Osha what happened. But I feel like his game is very slow. He wants her to fall on her own and not have any say in him doing it. But I felt like we were going to kind of get stories from different perspectives, and then the true kind of story like we got with Luke and Kylo. But I don't know. Maybe it is just we see what happens and boom, we continue.
Well, that's what's also exciting, is building upon the idea that Vernestra was his Jedi Master. If we want to make that hit, is there any chance that the flashback episode is not just May and Osha, but it's also Chimere within the Order and whatever happened to descend him?
So I guess we know those 4 Jedi went on this mission. Soul and all the others are dead.
Soul and Dara, Kelnaka, and Torben. Yeah,
but I wonder if, like, maybe it doesn't seem that Vernestra would have gone on that mission as well, but maybe that, like, there's just a mission going on at the same time. Like, we are suspicious of a dark force. There's a bunch of witches here. We have one strong person here. Vernestra and Chimere are going to go to check out this, and then the other 4 are going to go check out.
That could be really cool.
Check out
that
there.
Could be really cool.
And then we get, I don't know, it all kind of culminates together. It all happened around the same day. But Chimere...
Well, and that's the thing, too, is that, like, we're not too far off. Let's go ahead and keep going forward. But we'll come back to this. This is why, like, I don't love that there's breaks in the storyline, is because, like, we don't come back to that for a good paragraph. But back on Soul's ship. He prepares for liftoff and tries to calm Coruscant. His connection is shaky, and he attempts to tell them that the mission failed and he lost his entire team. May traverses the ship and recalls her test there when she was a youngling, while Basil lurks around the corner. And when she reaches the cockpit, Sol regards her as Osha. Says, Osha, take the wheel. I'm going to go check out the transceiver. Mm-hmm. And she ascends out of the atmosphere as Sol gathers himself in the hull, hitting the console, tears welling in his eyes. I went Lee Jung-jae for my performance. Mm-hmm. The repression of the emotions, and there's specifically something he does later in the episode that is utterly fucking fantastic that I love, but he is so goddamn good. You know, to speak to the Chimere character side of things, he's consistently the most interesting character. Lee Jung-jae is consistently the most fulfilling performer for me in this show. Mm. I think that what he's been able to do has been unbelievable week to week.
Yeah, in fact, that the dude just learned English, like
for this
recently.
role.
That's insane, and he's doing it at this level. And I like, we did say some editing choices, but the fact to just stay on him, that's good.
Oh yeah, thank goodness.
I guess I don't know. Maybe that's direction. Maybe I don't know. That's just writing.
No, I mean, there's also an editing thing to that to a degree, and I guess, I mean, pacing falls under the category of editing. Like that. I guess my issue would be more with pacing, not letting the scene continue in full.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we return to Osha and Chimere's story, I don't feel like it feels like the other half of the same scene. It doesn't feel like but regardless, no, this was really well done, though. And the way that Sol's ship looks this episode, the way it's lit at times is fucking brilliant. Mm-hmm. I absolutely adored it. But, Basil lurks around the corner once more, watching Sol. And when he leaves, he continues his search for Pip's charging station. And when he finds it, he brings our little guy back online.
This was cute. I don't know, just him sniffing around every little charge hole, and then he finally finds one. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just a nice little break from. I don't know. It's fun.
The intensity. Yeah.
Little
I love Basil.
Yeah.
I love Basil.
Yeah.
Basil and Pip, hell of a duo. But after docking their ship on the hyperspace mechanism they have, Sol returns to the cockpit and hugs May, thinking she's Osha. And he says she saved them. She saved him. That man corrupted your sister, and he pushed me to a place that And then he says, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
He says, it's time to face the High Council and tell them everything. So it's a place he hasn't gone to for quite some time.
Okay.
Yeah,
I guess I thought it was just merely like they don't even want to mention the dark side. Like to Jedi, Sith, dark, anything is just no. But that's
and it could be a place that I've never been.
Mm-hmm.
The regret, the guilt in his performance. It's a place he hasn't gone in a long time.
Yes. Yes.
And likely whatever happened that night on Brendok.
What did this man do? What?
It's looking worse and worse, man.
Did he just kill them all? Like
it doesn't seem like
they
it.
Weren't
like they
Saber, like. What did he do? Like,
I don't know. Whatever it is, it's not good though, and that sucks because I like Sol, bro. I really do, know. But it's looking bad for my man here. It is
not looking good. It is.
No, it looks awful. In fact, whatever happened is fucking terrible. At least that's how they're building it up, And like that's the other thing too about Jedi is that their guilt for something that might be comparatively a minor transgression could be pretty insurmountable, but like we know what happened, we know what ended, like how that ended, and if he feels that much guilt about it, it's not just that he's hiding what happened.
No,
it's not that he's hiding the deeds of others. Like bro did something he was not supposed to do, and I don't like it. But
yeah, no bueno. But at least I don't know. You're right. He did have the performance of the episode. I knew at least he was going to get it from you. I I'm loving. I don't know. I am loving Manny
Jacinto
Jacinto right
Dude,
now. The
he's
calm,
good.
collected performance here was.
Well, there's a really, really good parallel mirror between Soul and Chimere in this one, where Soul is conducting himself in a way that Jedi shouldn't, and Chimere is conducting himself in a way that's not Sith-like.
Oh.
He's giving her choice. Soul straps May to the bed. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
He
wow.
allows her to get up and go. She's free. Soul, you're going to listen. You know, like it's like
Okay. Wow.
there's a really interesting dichotomy happening between them that I really, really like.
Man, yin yang's everywhere in this show.
Well, and not to mention that Soul and Chimere, Soul, I can't remember what language. I think Spanish is sun, and Chimere in Arabic is moon.
Oh, it's Arab. Okay, I had no idea. Wow.
Well,
that's-
it's Qamar in Arabic. It's not spelt the same, but like it's approximately the same. I'm pretty sure
Makes
it's Arabic
sense.
too. Sorry if I'm fucking up the languages there, but yeah, sun and moon, like they are
Wow.
the flip side of one another, which I think is interesting. But yeah, he says then it's time to face the High Council and tell them everything. And just then the transmission barely breaks through again, but is quickly quelled by the power of the ship going out. Just when we thought we were going to get a little bit of an explanation, that happens like at least one other time in this episode. He sends May down to go check on that. She is obviously flustered because she does not have the mechanic inclination that Osha does, which he thinks she is Osha. So, yeah, notable. But I am also curious. I'm gonna ask this now because I do think it's relevant at this point in the episode. Does Soul realize that this is May, or does Basil tell him it's May?
I feel like he has suspicions because he's asking questions. Like the way he's responding sometimes is kind of
And
like
he looks at her a little funny
like,
every once in a while.
you
Like
know?
it's
and I feel like he's sensing something off too. You know, I feel like he's just off. But
right.
even in
Well, and he's overwhelmed. You know, like that's the other thing is like being.
he's
He's in the
lost his
throes
whole
of
team.
grief.
Yeah,
His Padawan. He just lost his Padawan. His Padawan got murdered in front of him. Like that's
true. Yeah,
You know, like you're feeling things. You know. So, but that's what I was curious about because at the
When?
end of the episode, Basil's like behind him, and it does seem sudden. It does seem sudden that he would go, "You're out." You know, like go ahead and conk out right quick. So I don't know. I'm just interested in when that switch happens.
I mean, up until the like he stuns her and he says, "Oh, May." It could be that he didn't fully know until he saw
he stunned
until
her.
he saw
Yeah.
the swirl. And he's like, "Oh, like okay.
Hey.
Well, I'm glad I stunned you."
Like
I feel like he would
I
have
think
stunned
he's
Osha too.
He would have.
Yeah.
He wanted to get the fuck out of there and turn his transponder off. Like
Yeah.
he didn't. I don't think it mattered who was there. Like, and that's not good. You know, like I don't know what
Does that mean
Soul's up to, but
he wants Osha to not come out of there alive either? Like because May would have lied and said this is Osha because if she right like in the the transmission. So like
I'm assuming
he's either stopping her because he knows that it's May and he knows that she's just gonna lie whatever, or it's like he's gonna stop Osha too no matter what and just it didn't matter.
I think I'm going with he knew it was May because I think Osha he'd have been able to be like, hold on, like I got things I want to do, you know. Like I think May he was nervous that he would have to tie her to a fucking bed and like you know, or tie her to the med bay and be like, all right, now you're gonna fucking listen, you know. I think there's either a realization that happened, but like the thing is that Basil's like right behind him when that happens, and he's like, you know, I can't tell if he told him or if Basil's like surprised by what just happens because he like kind of looks at Soul like
Yord. Like Yord is the only one who can understand, but I'm assuming there's something off. Like he can't, like there's body. I don't know. Basil could get the the message across.
Yeah, he can get... Well, and that's the other thing, too, is that May's not... May feels like somebody acting like OSHA.
Mm.
The way she says certain things, and credit to Amanda Listenberg here.
Have you told
to
me
be able to
everything
emulate?
Yeah, it's like
and whenever Soul brings up Pip, and she's like, "I've always been like that, even when I was younger." You know, it's like they're not the same person, and it's obvious they're not the same person. So it either is a bad look for Soul, and kind of gives credit to Chimere for what he thinks of the relationship between a master and a Padawan within the Jedi Order, or he's just being vague about honesty with her, and I can't tell. But either way, back on Coruscant, Vernestra is informed by a Senator Chewant of the anti-Jedi movement within the Senate by a Senator Ryancourt. They aim to conduct an external review of the Order. And she grows a little grave. She says that Ryancourt has never been a friend to the Jedi, and that his weaponized fear has convinced many. And Chewant insists that there's no need to worry, an external review is not that big of a deal. The Jedi are always transparent with the Senate. And, Vernestra's like, yeah, we are. Sure we are.
100%.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt. Yeah, that's exactly what we do.
She could be, this could be a slow cook. Like, if Vernestra is somehow Chimere's, could have been his Jedi Master. There's another step where you go further. I don't know. You know, there's something going on, and it could just be the guilt from whatever happened. It'd be fucking sick if they took Palpatine to the next level, and they are still in the Order while somehow being the Sith Lord. I don't know.
I think there's too much in private with her, specifically what happens at the end of this episode when she turns away and talks to herself and is like something to tip the scales, she's like surprised. She's like, there is the perspective that if she is the Sith Master, which I don't think she is, and I think most book readers would agree that there's almost no fucking shot at that.
Okay. It's just the whip.
But
the whip's the only thing kind of throw me off. Just imagery of a whip is never usually on the good side.
Indiana Jones has a whip.
Fair.
I like Indy.
Fair enough. I will take it back. But I don't know. There's always been an air to Vernestra that I've just...
There's a real intensity about her. And, that's why I think there is something to the idea that there's more to Vernestra. It's not
Sith Lord. Yeah.
There is actually something in this episode that is expressly a reference to the books with Vernestra. That's not important. So I think it's a little bit of a wink at book readers to be like, if that's what people are worried about, you don't have to worry about that. You know what I'm saying? At least that's, Star Wars has never been afraid to retcon books, though. That's why I'm like, I don't know. And we are a good 100 years removed from the events of the book she's in. So, a lot can happen. So that's why I'm like, I'm going with the, I know Vernestra and Vernestra wouldn't. But I can't blame non-book readers for having that suspicion right now. They are doing a real vague thing with her, and
I don't buy into it a whole lot. It is just one of my crackpot, kind of out there. But it is. I don't think maybe Sith Lord is the answer, but there's an air to her where there's something, and it might just be.
Similar to Soul, whatever. But she's better at buttoning it up. It's not eating at her the way it's eating at Soul, and. I don't
just
know
the higher up the chain you go in the Jedi.
The further removed it is, if Soul doesn't Chimere says it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And obviously Vernestra is over a century old. Soul's probably 50 maybe. That's probably high end for Soul. They were. I don't get the impression that Chimere was a youngling. I take the impression that he precedes Soul. He is a
He's older than him.
This man's older than Joe Biden.
How?
You know what I'm saying?
But yeah, like I don't. But he seems very ancient, and like maybe that's how he's so collected. Is that like all this drama that is crazy right now? It's just Jedi to him. It's just like he just has to kill Jedi. Like that's all he's really focused on, and then finding a pupil. He's like, I just want to find someone that's good enough and that can be that or hot and maybe in a relationship, but really I just want a pupil, you know. But
there's I don't know. I mean, regardless, I'm excited to see however it unfolds, but just when the transmission is kind of reaching its ending, a Padawan enters, the Padawan from the transmission. His name is Mog. Padawan Mog. And we learn he informs Vernestra of the disturbing call from Sol. And he says that Sol reportedly lost his whole team. She becomes urgent and grave and says they need to send a team to Kofar. And he's like, how the fuck you know they out there? And she's like, I sent him there. Are we getting the impression that he is Vernestra's Padawan or just a Padawan reporting to Vernestra?
I didn't know how to quite read that either. It seems like whenever they're down there, like, what do you see? It seems very master Padawan, but it could just be. But that's
if
what
she is
she
is the council, like they are kind of masters to everybody. That's why I'm like, it is curious. I think they would have made it a little bit more clear if he was her Padawan. You know, like they don't even communicate about her going on the mission. She's just like, Mog, get a team together, go to Kofar, and then she shows up.
That's
and
true.
He's like,
you're going
too?
Are
You're coming?
Oh.
You know? But yeah, regardless, back on the island, Osha inquires to Kymir. She says he speaks as though he was once a Jedi, and he confirms that he was, a long time ago. And she says that she's never heard of him, and he reaffirms, it was a really long time ago. And she tells him that if he holds on to her, Sol will find them. He's very powerful in the Force, and he's found her before. And he counters that this is her strength in the Force, not his. Someone ought to teach her that. I love the little slides he's given her, like, you ought to learn.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know who. I have no idea who.
Right.
No clue who could teach you this, but I don't know. I got some food. I got a nice island.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, you know, if you want to get out to your ship, go ahead and start swimming. You'll want to make it there before nightfall, but I'm about to make some dinner.
Damn.
So
was the skinny dip just part of the manipulation? Just be like, look how hot I am. Do you want to leave? Do you seriously think you're going to leave right now? Like,
I think that's part of it. I think another thing to consider is that, like, one of the things that made him egregiously sexy in the last episode was that his arms were, like, caked in dirt. I think this is how he bathes.
That's true. It could, yeah.
You know,
I think it's more just proving the point that it's like he's utterly defenseless. Like he's showing to be defenseless and not worried about anything at all.
Well, and he's putting on that he trusts her. You know,
Yeah.
like, and he so much so that he puts a fucking lightsaber to his chin later on in this episode and is like, pull the fucking switch. You know, but in his hut, Osha inquires how it could possibly be her strength in the Force. That the Jedi teach that if you do not train, your ability will fade. Kymir retorts that this is just one way to engage with the Force. It is their way. There is a much deeper well of emotion. And looking to his little fire, he says, anger, fear, loss. And then he looks directly at her and goes, desire.
God damn it. Man. I mean, I've already seen so many edits from this line alone. The amount of thirst traps that are posted immediately after every episode is insane. And
it's absurd.
I think that's a good sign. That's when you know, I don't know, Star Wars is doing something.
Things are alive and well. Well, and that's the thing too, is that like there's a whole narrative online that like nobody's watching the Acolyte. Hasbro released a Black Series Stranger helmet. Like,
ooh.
You want it? You can't have it. Sold out immediately. It sold out in an hour. Like, that shit was gone. So, like, it's...
Damn.
People are watching it, and people are fucking liking it, you know? Like, it's been a while since they've put something out, and it's been like, nope, you know? Like, like, that's a good sign, you know? As far as, you know, the consumer side of things, but... She says that those things he describes there are the dark side and that he murdered her friends. He retorts that he defended himself against Jedi who say he can't exist. And she says he killed Yord, and he retorts that he was one who would have happily turned her in for a crime she didn't commit. Mm-hmm. And she breaks a little and says that he killed Jecki. And he asks, what did you think was going to happen there?
Yeah, he can't really defend it. I don't know. He's like, that's a child. Fuck, I don't know. Where do you think this one's gonna go though? Like, sorry, it's just the nature of the job.
And also, kind of just being like, you liked her. Mm-hmm. Like you were into her. Why? What'd you think was gonna come to that? Why do you have these relationships? Why do you attach yourself to somebody who can only go so far the other direction? Why?
Dang, he knows. He says, I can't read your mind. Anger's clouding your judgment. Maybe he knows all the dark emotions. He can read all those.
Right.
And read why she's angry, read why she was in love. But, and maybe...
He says that she would have found that to be, like every other relationship with the Jedi, like her relationship with Master Soul, one-sided. Mm-hmm. And I was like, damn, bro's good.
While handing the bowl over. Why love someone who can only love so much or love you so far? Like,
can only go so far.
Are you kidding me, dude?
Who can't go as deep as she can.
Cooked her a meal, some soup. I don't know. I want this soup. I want his little cave. I
like the cave. The cave's a vibe.
Mm-hmm. Little cortosis vein running up down the middle. That's kind of cool. But just I don't know. It feels like a Mando. Kind of armorer, kind of.
The covert sort of thing.
I don't know. I'm digging the vibe, but
I dig it. But she says in response to this that she is not her sister and that she is not so easily corrupted. And she storms out and is followed onto a naturally occurring balcony, which I think is cute. It's got the railing and everything. Like he's clearly set himself up here. But he asks why she doesn't just kill him. You came here for a reason. You came at me with a knife for a reason. Why don't you do it? He grabs the saber that she is carrying and puts it to his chest, grabbing and holding her forearm to keep it there. Mm-hmm. She says that a Jedi doesn't kill the unarmed, and he questions, why do you still think of yourself as a Jedi? And he says, they didn't want you. And she says, she left. He asks why. She says she chose to. He questions, are you sure about that? Mm. And she pulls away, but he pulls the saber up, pointing it towards his chin. He says that what she's feeling, this anger, this pain, that is who she is, and the Jedi saw it, and they threw her away. She says they didn't throw her away, and he asks again, so why aren't you a Jedi? And tensions come to a boil as she blurts out that she failed. And with tear-filled eyes, she ignites the saber and puts it to Kymir's neck. Mm-hmm. And it's in this moment that he softens. He tells her, I understand. I lost everything. And it's only when you lose everything that you are finally free. And throughout the whole time, he's grabbing her forearm, kind of, not even grabbing her forearm, like holding it, just gently. Mm-hmm. And they look deeply into one another's eyes, and then she backs away, deactivating the saber. Now, this is specifically what's getting the people going in terms of the scene that's building the most tension between them. Obviously, when he was naked in front of her, there's,
clear.
But this is, like, explicitly a parallel to Kylo and Rey. Blatant as all hell. Mm-hmm. The Jedi, the Sith, they're nothing. Yeah. They're nothing.
Join me.
Join me. We can rule the galaxy side by side.
I've never wanted it more. Like Rey, I knew it wasn't. I don't know. Rey would never. I guess.
Well, but that's what makes this interesting is that there is a chance here, and that's what makes it even more like the difference between Kylo and Kymir is that Kylo is holding on to the dark for dear life. He's trying his best to convince himself that is who he is. There is not a single part of Kymir that feels like he isn't that. Kymir knows for a fact that he is dark-sided. He doesn't even desire to be light. There's not even a little bit of him that's like guilty about what he's doing.
Nope.
So like, I think the key difference in those relationships, obviously Osha was brought up within the Jedi. She got to experience the, repression that the Jedi push onto you. That sort of like May voices it, but I think it's a real thing that most Jedi feel. It's almost a guarantee. The whole like I had to cut off so many corners of myself to become a Jedi. You know, like there was so much I had to sacrifice of myself to be a Jedi. You know, I think that's pretty universally probably the case for a lot of people, you know, especially when you're brought into the Order late, like they were at 8 years old.
It's almost like it's all culminating as like the Jedi set these rules in place and you got to follow them. And it's like, it's not even right with like how to use the Force. It might be the right way, but it's just to the Jedi. Like ask yourself, do you think it's, I don't know how other,
right.
But like it feels like it's just all these rules that are set in place, blah, blah, blah. But Chimere himself has his own rules. You can't kill you have to kill a Jedi without a weapon. You know, there's all these kind of shackles on them, and maybe an ending that I just kind of saw that I would like is May and Osha just finally teaming up again, realizing Chimere had a hold over May the whole time, that it truly wasn't her fault of what she was doing. The Jedi had a hold over Osha the whole time. Now that they're kind of seeing each other's world, now they're both literally, I don't know, it kind of, they've met again, and now it feels like they're living in reverse a little bit. It's just, yeah, they've crossed that threshold point.
They're the two moons eclipsing.
Yeah, and it was halfway through the season as well. Like, maybe, right? No? Did they meet? When did they meet? No, it was end of last episode?
Yeah,
right?
But the 4 and 5 function as a double episode, which 1, 2, 3, 6, 7 is kind of in the middle.
Okay,
you know?
Yeah, but it feels that it might not take the same amount of time, you know, that they're going to be in the Order and train with Chimere, but it feels that they're getting each other's worlds, each other's perspectives, and now that they'll come together maybe somehow. And it would feel nice if maybe Chimere puts these same kind of restrictions on to Osha. You know, May is lost to him, I guess, now, right? Like, they're not, like, May, if Chimere sees May, is he just trying to kill May, or does he still see her as a pupil still, or is he just kind of, you know, done, like it's over with?
I think I don't know. That's a good question. I hadn't really considered that, you know, because I don't fully buy that he was actually trying to kill May in episode 5. You know, like, I think if he wanted May dead, he would have fucking killed May. He had every fucking he was literally holding a saber to her head at one point. He was trying to corrupt the Jedi. He was trying to get them to do something they're not supposed to do. So it is tough to say what his relationship to May would be at this point. Maybe, you know, he's talking about wanting the power of 2. Is there any chance that the lessons he's imposed onto May and onto Osha, they end up taking for themselves and betraying Chimere?
Am I crazy? Could he be their father in any way? Could he be the Palpatine that put the Force baby in the 2 you know?
No.
Like, did they need... Maybe that's the connection during their birth. He had to... I don't know. Maybe he gave them the knowledge. Like, he's like, hey, here's how we've been doing it. You guys can do it. And this is like he's like a Bene Gesserit planning Osha and May, and then he's taking them as their pupil, kind of like...
Yeah, I seriously doubt it. That when it comes to I haven't really given a lot of thought to how Chimere and May come into contact initially. I would be interested to know that.
You know, just a classic "I'm your father." You know, like if imagine they get epic lightsabers, and you know, all these parallels that are happening, and then they also drop a "I'm your fucking father" line. I don't know. I
think it would be bad. That's my thing, is that it's a fun idea, but at this point, I think it would just kind of make everybody go,
it'd be weird. What? Yeah, it's like, wait, no. Actually, no, we wanted you to be like a thing, and now you can't be a thing. And then, yeah, okay.
Well, and there's also an element to it that's like, I don't know how much I want them to be a thing, but I do know that they're obviously building a tension. Whether that is truly romantic, there's obviously a manipulation at hand. There's no doubt. Like, Chimere is trying to seduce her. For more reason than one, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I don't know if I want to see it or not. I mean, I do for a little bit, but I don't want it to sustain. I don't want
Right.
it to be forever. I want to.
Yeah, no, I would enjoy seeing OSHA give in and then kind of being like, hold up, no, you know, like I need to think about that a little bit, like, because that's the fun of the dark side, is the way that people tap into it. Is that, like, I want there to be conflict. I don't want her to just give herself over. I don't want her to just be like, yep, I'm dark now, what's up, you know, like I think that there will be flashes of that, and then I think the is killing Soul. I think that I think there is little chance OSHA is the one who OSHA isn't the one who kills Soul.
It feels right. Like it's weird.
It does.
At the beginning of the show, I would have never said that. But now that I'm here, it feels that it's the natural progression. And
you know, I'm interested to see how May. Because you're right about them living sort of the flip side of things now. And May kind of being like, OSHA being alive changes everything. I'm going to turn myself in. I'm going to do all this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And being good, you know, like basically seeing the error of her ways in some capacity. You know, she does talk to OSHA and is like, they're Jedi. They've manipulated you. Like, I don't think she has remorse. She's just kind of like, it's the quote unquote right thing to do because OSHA's alive. And I'll be interested to see if May is disappointed in OSHA for giving in. Like, or if
like
she'll be
good.
proud of her.
Like,
yeah,
finally.
like if there's, or if it's like one of those things where she thinks she wants that
like,
for OSHA and then it happens.
Yeah.
And then it happens and she's like, fuck, you know, like
that's a culmination that I could see is OSHA trying to free May from Chimere, but she has to go into the dark in order to do so. And that's what she thinks. You know, there's no way I could defeat Chimere on my own, but if I go into the dark, I am just gifted. You know, maybe there is something to just them where they're just fucking gifted as shit and she could, I don't know. But maybe it seems that way. OSHA's going to kill Chimere or something to help May and release her from the contract, but then May is like, no, like actually do not. If you do this, you'll start down a path that you don't want to go down. And then they just together they are the power of two. They finally she learns to block. I feel like that's gonna happen. Like you never learn to block. She's gonna block something. And I don't know. I feel it feels that OSHA and May have to come around. I don't like it, that's the end. That I feel like they don't go on their separate ways. I feel like they come to an understanding, they understand each other. They're together.
It feels like we're building. It feels like they're. Well, I mean, like they could. Maybe that's the imagery of the eclipse. That maybe they are together for a moment, but it passes. You know, like it doesn't last. It's not permanent. You know. And so like there's a lot of interesting ways this could go. And that's the thing that I'm excited about is that like for as much as I'm fairly certain is going to happen, which is, I mean, again, Leslie Headland talked about it with the reveal last week that it's not, she knew people would know Chimere was the stranger. She knew people would get that, but it's how she does it that is the more interesting. Like I am 99% certain OSHA will kill Soul. I am comfortable being that confident.
Okay.
I am intent. I have no idea how they do it, though. You know what I'm saying? I have no idea how we get there. I am confident that is what will happen. No idea what happens between now and then. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's exciting, is figuring out what like that moment is. And
so many possibilities now. Yeah, there's an open web. Before
will May feel good about that? Will May feel bad about that? In like it's there's so many different things at play because now I'm of the mind Vernestra's going to be there. I think Vernestra's going to show up somehow. I don't know how she's going to, but I'm fairly certain she will. You know,
Yeah.
When's the bigger Sith Lord going to show up? Does he show up when all of them are facing off with each other? Is there?
There's no way we get a singular whip and it's just to kill an Umbra Moth. You know.
Yeah.
It's not. There's no way. Like we gotta. She will have some confrontation. Maybe it's Soul. Maybe it's Chimera. Maybe it is. I feel pretty...
Ooh, yeah, maybe Soul gives himself to the dark side again to try and take down Chimera.
I want to see some yellow eyes in anybody. Literally. I think Osha is pretty likely. Chimera, I feel like it's likely at first, but almost he will never get, like, I don't know. I feel
he's so...
he's so fucked up.
That he's dispassionate, you know? Like, he's disconnected. Like, it's not even like...
Yeah.
It's like he cares about his mission, but he doesn't care enough to, like, invest himself.
I don't know.
Which is fascinating.
That could be a super power up, though. Maybe he never uses it, so that way, whenever he does, he's like, well, you know, he's like,
do we see Force Lightning? Is that something that ever comes up? Is that something that could be cool to see?
We still haven't seen how he exploded in the orange dust. Like, we haven't seen that happen. Like, we just know that it did. Like, the first initial boom that killed, like, most of the Jedi, and then he went to go fight him and left the orange shit in the forest. Oh, okay. I guess it maybe didn't.
That was a force push. That was the last thing that happened.
So it was just like
it was like it was the dirt and the soil
that's true.
Did that.
I guess the Morg, right? Mog
yeah.
coming up. He says like an explosion first and then a battle. I guess maybe just they think it's an explosion because of just the.
I think that's just how much
push.
force he gave out. Like it's just
boosh.
It almost looks like a fucking explosion happened.
Okay.
Like and that's not how Jedi wield the force.
Yeah.
You know, like
it
looks like somebody blew something up.
In my mind, I thought there was still some hidden ability that we haven't seen from him yet, but
I don't think so. I mean, but like he's a Sith, so like if he has some other a greater ability, that could be
lightning.
I think,
feels pretty likely,
especially if he's almost 100 years old. You know, they say that takes forever to figure out. You know, like it's I could see that happening.
I feel like his lightsaber. I don't know if any lightsaber can just become a whip. I don't know how the functions work there. But if there is some tie to Vernestra and him, it could be sick.
That could be really cool.
I mean, what a Swiss Army knife of a lightsaber to come apart and have the two little blades and then a whip
gnarly.
maybe. I feel like still he can flip the other small piece around and have a double-sided blade. I really want to see that. But I don't know. Yeah, that's a lot of. I have no idea.
Of possibilities.
Where we're
a lot of
going
possibilities.
Now. Yeah.
But yeah, no. So all that to say, that scene was really good. That scene where they're on the balcony and she holds the saber to his neck.
That is my scene. Yeah, that is my scene for the episode.
I figured so.
But see, yeah, we can get. I can go quite the distance.
We'll go deep. But back on Coruscant, Vernestra asks Padawan Mog if he's heard from Sol, but communication has been disrupted, and she informs him that she'll be joining them, and he reminds her that she gets nauseous on trips in hyperspace.
Mm-hmm.
And she says that she doesn't get sick. She finds it unsettling. And this is the book detail that is... she gets visions in hyperspace. She doesn't... she finds it unsettling because she sees shit. Yeah. And it's not 100% of the time. It's not every time.
Wow.
But there's a through line in the High Republic book trilogy where it's still in relatively early days of hyperspace. Not super early, but like they're still mapping lanes and they're still doing stuff. And, you know, there's plenty that's well established. There's a lot of the galaxy that's still unexplored, you know, like 100 years earlier, they're kind of expanding the Republic to the Outer Rim for the first time, trying to bring worlds in. So they're establishing travel through the Outer Rim, essentially. And there's a character named Mari Santeca who is Force capable, but the way she connects to the Force is that she can see hyperspace lanes.
Oh.
She can go here. And it's kind of inferred that Vernestra has a similar capability, not exactly the same. but whenever she's in hyperspace, she enters a mode,
Wow.
and she can see either what she's going into or the worst possible version of what she's going into, which is typically
that's what I was going to ask. If it's related,
why it's unsettling,
related to the trip that she's taking, kind of always, or if it
has been, and other times it's not. Other times, like it's just like any Jedi premonition, as they say. Like it can be much more metaphorical. Like there's another character in the High Republic who continuously has a vision of a planet being destroyed and all of his friends dying. That's a vision he has, not a dream, not a nightmare. It is a vision. He's like, I'm there, I'm experiencing it. It's not a dream. And that at least hasn't happened yet. Spoilers for the High Republic. A planet hasn't exploded and all the Jedi haven't died. So that's good to know.
Okay. But
we still got a couple books left. I don't know.
I don't know if this is an editing choice or if she has this ability, but kind of like the Cal Kestis, just being in the area.
Yeah, the echoes.
Yeah. Force echo.
No, she's feeling that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's not so specific to her. Like we see with Cal Kestis, we saw it with Ahsoka and Ahsoka. That's more. I think that there are certain Jedi who have that strength, and she's among them.
It seems like it. I was gonna maybe say that maybe when she's in hyperspace, if like it is, she's just hearing the echoes through. I guess it's usually not the past. Maybe it's always like something in the future. So maybe the echo doesn't quite make sense. But I don't know. The echo is pretty cool, and I didn't know if her Padawan, or I don't know if that is her Padawan, but the other Jedi there is hearing that, or if it's just Venestra hearing the echo.
I think it's just Vernestra. I think that whenever she's like, what's it look like happened here? She knows what happened here.
Okay,
she's just teaching the Padawan what happened.
She's like
she's heard all of it.
Fair.
Maybe not all of it, but echoes of it. And but she says that she finds hyperspace unsettling, which she does. But he once again tries to talk her down, like, hey, it is a far trip. Are you sure? And she's like, if it's okay with you, I would like to see to this personally. And the Padawan's like, yep, sorry about that.
Is it just they don't want a boss on the ship? It's just like get nervous. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. I didn't know if there was something else there. Like they're just like,
yeah, I don't think there's anything.
It's just
I think it's just I think it's from a good place. I think it's that he's genuinely worried. Master Soul said that a bunch of Jedi died. You're really valuable. Like you find you get sick in hyperspace. It might just be best if you don't go. And but
Mog, good old
the fact
Mog.
that she does insist that she should be the one to go. And then what happens when they are there? I think she's putting pieces together that only she knows, The master of cover-ups. She loves covering shit up. Wouldn't surprise me one bit if she covered up that one of her Padawans is no longer in the Order or something like that. But back on Soul's ship, May looks for a way to repair the ship's power, but she's confronted by Pip and Basil, who double-team her and briefly take her down. I love Basil stomping on her foot, her turning around, getting the shit sprayed in her face, the fucking scream.
That was a good scream.
She lets out. Oh, great
like
scream. Shout out to Amanda
serious?
Listenberg.
Yeah.
Like,
all in one scream.
Oh, dude, I love it. But May snags Pip and resets him to factory setting. R.I.P. Pip.
It's kind of funny.
Pip.
Yeah, just like
it
little
is
iPhone buttons. You hold the power and
literally
volume
the
button,
exact same function. It was incredible. But she tasks him with running a diagnostic after finding him a compatible body unit. But Basil escapes from the room. And he finds himself in a space fit for his size, making his way through the little ventilation shafts in the ship. And May immediately clocks him, but she is called up to the cockpit overhead.
Is Basil and Pip a genius? Was this to reveal the tattoo or the marking on May's forehead so that Basil knows for sure it's May, and then he runs to go tell Soul? Is like, is this because he does just stomp on her foot and go? He's like, fuck, like, oh my god, you're May, I'm out of here. And
that'd be interesting. That would be interesting. But
mastermind Basil and Pip here.
I love Basil. I love Basil and Pip. But she's called to Soul, who sits contemplating in his bunk, and she asks what's going on, and he responds with self-contempt, wondering how he could not have possibly sensed that villain's intentions back on Olega. And May responds that when you want something bad enough, it can cloud judgment. You see what you want to see, and he fooled them all. Being very transparent there, even fooled him, or even fooled her. She had no idea. But he notices then that she found Pip, and he observes that he's seen the way she cares for him and loves him, even though he is a mere machine. And May says that she has always been like that, which Soul knows. And May speaks from the perspective of her sister, saying she had to lose a lot of herself in order to become a Jedi. And Soul hits her with a classic dad apology.
Damn.
I'm sorry if you felt that way.
Oh. Yeah, that is literally what I just told you. I did feel that way. I don't know, it was...
Not sorry that we made you feel that way. Sorry if you felt that way.
Damn, that is rough. That is...
That's not a good... That's notoriously the worst apology you can give. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody is ever satisfied with sorry that you felt that way. Or sorry if you felt that way specifically. Like, it's just like, no, I did feel that way. That's why I'm fucking telling you.
Wow.
Yeah, no, that's... So, there's a lot... From here on, bad vibes. Terrible vibes from Soul. Just awful vibes. But she inquires how she could have possibly felt another way. And Soul sighs, and she asks if he's told her everything there is to know about what happened on Brindok. And he deflects. You were very young. And she goes, but I'm not anymore. You can tell me. And he looks down, abashed, and he looks up at her, and then the power comes back on. Great little, saved by the bell.
The Force works in mysterious ways, I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. And she walks to the cockpit, quite disappointed. And she reaches the comm, but as she is about to identify herself, Soul shoots her with a stun gun. And presumably a Basil's instruction, kind of vague, can't really tell. Basil's right there, so it's an interesting detail to include that Basil's right there if it's not Basil being like, hey, check that out, And
I might have read it as like, is he suspicious of Soul now? Like, because he kind of reacts to it, kind of like...
He is after this, at least.
He's like, He's like, wait a minute, I'm gonna...
I didn't think you were gonna fucking do that, like...
So...
Okay. Yeah, so, that's what's unclear, is I can't tell, I feel like now Basil's not on Soul, he doesn't fuck with Soul anymore. However, if... it's unclear if Soul knows Basil's there.
I know. He doesn't, pay attention to him really
even
at
in
all.
the next scene, obviously Basil's not around. Is that because Soul was like, I need you to go to another room while I talk to May? Or is is Basil going to be lurking around the corner listening whenever this happens?
I think he's concerned. He's like...
I think he is too. I don't think he trusts Soul anymore, which I think is a cool... it's fascinating that we're speculating on the feelings of Basil, who felt like a comedic relief even in this episode, but there's clearly something at least almost empathic about him. He can sense when things aren't right,
Is he a Jedi? I guess I've never...
No.
He's just someone they brought on
He's just
as
a tracker.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know if this dude has Force abilities, and I didn't know
that
about
would
it,
be
but...
awesome if Basil just whips out the fucking blade and is like, Soul,
challenge
fight me. Yeah. Attack me with all your strength.
He's the Sith Lord.
Basil is whose
Sith
eyes
Lord.
turn yellow in the episode,
Yeah, he can
that'd
actually
be wonderful.
speak the whole time. He just speaks in
the whole
perfect
time.
basic. Just face me.
Attack
kids.
me. And it's like the voice you least expect.
Darth Vader. James Earl Jones comes back to voice Basil. Yeah.
I am Basil. He's got this deep fucking tom to his voice. But I accidentally scrolled up or down or one way or the other on this shit.
We just stunned.
There we go. Okay.
I guess we just got done
He
stunning her. But
He looks down and seems to realize it's May. He goes, "Oh, May. What are you doing? What did you do more specifically? Where's Osha? It's a whole thing." But a voice comes over the comm telling him to stay put and leave his transponder on, but he promptly turns it off and launches into hyperspace. There is no hesitation involved.
boom. Yeah.
He's like, "Nope, yep, and I'm out." Nice and easy, and that is the second to last scene we have with them. But back on the island, Kymir works to repair his helmet, and Osha asks him if he gave the same pitch to her sister. And he responds that he misread May. He thought that they wanted the same thing, the power of two. And he wipes the sweat from his brow, lifting up his shirt, revealing again his scar. And Osha asks how he got it. And he responds with the question, how do you think? And she says it looks like he got stabbed in the back. And he alludes to their earlier conversation, saying it was someone who threw me away. So he's pushing her in that direction. You know, he's pushing her to go,
oh, yeah.
I was betrayed by the Jedi. This is what happens when you align yourselves with them. We're the same.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, don't buy it.
No.
You know, like he's being way too vague about it for it to be the 100% truth.
Maybe a parallel between him and Venestra. Again, Venestra asks Mog, "What do you see?" You know, like she knows, and she's, you know, it is seen as a lesson, but could be a way for her just to easily cover up things. It's just, well, what's the opinion of the Jedi? What does he see? Mm-hmm. And I know what the fuck's going on, and so she can control every detail. And now Chimere saying, what do you think?
Well, and another interesting one could be, you know, someone who threw him away. What if he's not the Sith apprentice anymore? What if he was cast aside and he is trying to work to kill the other two Sith so that they are the master and apprentice?
That's a very good way of having him still be a dark side user, but still have the two big dogs up there. And then the two big dogs, or one of them has to come in and be like, well, you can't exist. Sorry. You know, like, right. Or are they actively seeking out anyone who is a dark side user, you know, and they have to kill them to keep the rule of two alive? Or is it just kind of like, if they encounter one, that they'll be like, well...
It's a lot of... There's a lot of technicalities going on with the Sith. Because, like, as we see during the Clone Wars, like, Dooku has an apprentice, Maul exists, Maul has an apprentice. It's basically the Sith or whoever thinks they're the Sith.
That's fair.
You know? Yeah. Like, Maul thought that him and Savage were the two Sith. You know? Like, nobody else is the Sith. Dooku knew that Asajj wasn't technically a Sith, but he kept her on as an apprentice, you know? Like, so there's a lot of, like...
Fake. Maybe
it's all just labels.
There's no literal. It's just to keep him fighting. It is.
Exactly. You know, like there's. So maybe there was a point when it was like that. When it was like we seek out dark side users and we eliminate them, we can be the only ones. Mm-hmm. But I don't buy that either. You know, like it's just. I think it's just like the Sith decide we are the Sith. It's us too, baby. It's us against the world. Let's do this thing, you know. Like, and I think that's a funny way to look at it, but I think it is how they look at it. But she questions if it was his Jedi master who did it to him, and he neither confirms nor denies this. And he pivots subject and he gives a quick knock on his helmet. He goes, "Cortosis,
cool shit."
Yeah, he's like, "Check this shit out. It's handy against lightsabers, but it's also a sensory deprivation headpiece, like we used in training." And he says it's just you, the Force, and what you bring with you, which is a wonderful connection to Empire. That's what Yoda says whenever Luke is going into the cave, where he sees Vader. He's like, it's just you and the Force, and what you bring with you. You know, like so like it's
Osha
it's a
going
dark side
through
thing,
a very
you know?
similar, like this is her Dagobah, you know. This is and going through that cave where Luke sees Vader. Who does Osha see? You know, who is
Well, and that's why, like, I do suspect, like, there was a lot of speculation about this being Octu, which I'm surprised we have not brought up yet.
It's true. I just didn't want to jump the gun. I don't know, because I know once that's at least done.
That's a pretty big conversation.
To break, but
yeah, and I suspect it could be the same planet. I mean, you don't draw on this imagery without it being intentional, and you don't make all these parallels to The Last Jedi and expect us not to go, I think that's Octu. Especially when they've
planet as well.
They've named every fucking planet. What the fuck do you mean unknown planet? Yeah. You know, you're hiding the name of the planet, you know, like that's the thing that holds me back from it being Octu is that Octu is in the unknown regions and you need a wayfinder to get there. Now, once you know the way, you don't need a wayfinder anymore. I think Rey shows us that. But it will be interesting if Soul can just find them, or if Vernestra can just find them, what's the relationship to Octu? Like, is it Octu? I can't tell. And I hope maybe we get a name. Obviously, there's been a Wikipedia article floating around about the potential name of this planet with a cortosis mine.
Baldemnik? Something
Baldemnik?
like that. Yeah, Baldemnik. But I mean, I don't know about Tenebrus, how do you know?
I have no idea.
Is that Plagueis' master? Or?
I thought I knew as much about Star Wars as most people can. You know, I've never read Legends, but I've combed the materials.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never once in my life heard of Darth Tenebrus until this show was going on.
Okay.
Yeah,
very new new to me as well. But
I'd never heard of him. And, you know, I said I didn't actually think I knew as much as there was to know. I want to make that clear.
Wait. There was a senator that gave Vernestra a message. Same species as this guy.
I'm Tenebrus?
Pretty certain. Yeah.
I'm pretty certain it's not.
I don't.
Tenebrus is a Bith, right?
Yeah.
Bith?
Yeah. Bith. That's funny.
Yeah.
It just
the same as the fucking Cantina, or not the Cantina band.
It looks like Is that?
Yeah, that's the same species.
Mm-hmm. So that dude wasn't.
The senator is. I feel like there's a pilot in the sequels who's the same species as him, but it's not a Bith.
Who is? I don't know. I guess the head shape just kind of looked similar for some reason.
Yeah, similar vibe there. But no, that's like when it comes to that and the inclusion of those characters, you know, they can't just assume the audience knows who Tenebrus and Plagueis is.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
It's Legends anyways, I get. You know, it's a Legends planet. But
yeah, so my thing is that, like, it could be Octu. They could just recontextualize it to be Octu, since that is a Legends article. Now, I do think it's important that those characters specifically have a relationship to an island that has a cortosis mine. I think there's little to no chance that we are not acting on that.
But the idea of like a South Pole, North Pole sort of thing, like it could be the same planet but different islands, and or maybe this is a twin planet. I don't know. It could be a whole other planet, and I think the easiest way is just to recontextualize this Legends thing as Octu to kind of combine it. But then the animals, I guess, that we see small here are very, very...
Yeah, they're called like... Star Wars gave them a name today.
Okay.
Like
the little ones or the
SKUR? Yeah, the little ones.
Okay, probably a toy.
I think it's
inbound,
SKUR.
maybe.
Oh yeah, I want one too. By the way,
but yeah, they gotta be the small versions of what Luke is drinking the blue milk out of. You know, he's milking.
They certainly look like it. You know, like it's.
So I mean, it looks like they're just, I don't know, an evolved creature of that. But then where are the huts of the people that lived on Octu, the natives there? You know, I guess we haven't been up in the mountain quite yet. We've been very low and near the...
We have been. Well, and that's the other thing too, though, is that like, I mean, I turned on The Last Jedi last night after the episode. I didn't get super far, but enough to see Octu again.
Okay.
And, you know, there are budgetary concerns, you know, like when it comes to location and everything. Like, Octu's a real, like, the island's a real island.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a real place that they shot. It's not the same island. It's, like, literally, you know, like, what we are seeing is not the same island as is the island that is Octu in The Last Jedi. However, I don't know how much they are going to observe that as being important. You know what I'm saying? Like, would they just shoot a different island and call it the same thing? Because Octu doesn't really have shores.
Yeah, it felt...
Octu juts out of the ground.
Yeah.
Like, it's... now, again, 150 years after this, you know, who the fuck knows, but...
yeah, that's true. And
you know, so, like, that's where I'm like... I'm hesitant to call it Octu. I feel like it is. I feel like they would have just named the fucking planet if it wasn't Octu.
yeah.
Like, if it was Baron Dick.
Yeah.
You remember that one chick who tried to do a Jamaican accent on that TV show that one time? Yeah, that's what that name reminds me of.
Oh man, that was that just threw back. Yeah, I don't. Just, wow.
Throwback there.
But yeah, no,
But if it was that planet, I think they would have just named it that. I think that like we're alluding to something here. But I don't want to get attached to the idea that like we have this mysterious unnamed planet. We got really attached to that on Pabu, and we never got a name for the planet. So like that's why I'm like, I don't really know what to expect out of this.
Cortosis? Is there anything book-wise? Do you know if it comes from the core, or is just core just part of the name just because like...
I do not know. I can't recall. The only book I've ever read that's even a part of is Thrawn Alliances, and I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, I liked the book. It's good. But it was not gripping the way the first one was for me. So there's probably plenty of stuff from that book that I just did not retain.
I didn't know. Just cortosis. A metal, I don't know. I just didn't know if it comes from the core, and then, we saw that dark pit on Octu, and I don't know, like, maybe there's some fucking passage to the core, and this is like some force planet. I feel like there's something going, like, this planet...
It's important, like that's why they wouldn't name it, like that's, and it could just be that it's not on any charts, it could just be like it's not on any charts. Octu. So it's just kind of like, it feels like that's what they're leaning towards. I'm not like, if it's not Octu, it's something that functions very similarly, like the thing is that Octu was like the home of the first Jedi Temple. That tree, the Jedi logo shaped tree on it and stuff. Like, do we see that? Do we see the pit? I'm like, I started this because we talked about the Vader, only what you take with you, the vision on Dagobah. If this is Octu, feel like we're a shoo-in for Osha to go to that pit.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh yeah. I mean,
and I want that if that's possible. You know what I'm saying? Like, and if not that, I want something that at least emulates that.
Whatever the equivalent
and it would be
is 200 years ago.
And it would be cool for a Sith to make their home and trying to destroy the Jedi, the first Jedi temple. Like that's really cool. That's a great idea.
Know your enemy to destroy.
Yeah, and maybe we get him giving her a lesson that is similar to the one Luke gives Rey. That's like the Jedi and their hubris. Like he takes Luke's words essentially and recontextualizes them with malice and, like stuff like that could be cool.
God, dude, the amount of parallels and just like, it's just, they're everywhere. They're like between every character, between prequel characters, between
multiple
OT
characters. Yeah.
Like it's crazy what they're doing.
That's what's really cool about this show is that it's doing something fresh and new. Its best comparison is The Last Jedi. Like as far as like what it's doing, it is doing something fresh and new that the franchise hasn't really done, but it's doing it in a way that shows love to what came before and is doing justice to the mythology. And I think that's. I mean, this is the first thing since that I feel like is doing that. Andor does its own version of that, but there's only so much you can do when you are still within the bounds of the Skywalker saga. Like you are, we're in the era of the Empire. We're going to be dealing with the Empire. Like that's.
Like the fact that we have like head-butting lightsabers to turn them off, or
that's so
the
fucking
fact that
cool.
it's even a thing now. We've never had anything like that, but now the choreography that's unlocked because of this, and just for it to be left up, like it is.
Well, and I love that the metal itself is really brittle.
Yeah,
it only works to deactivate, but if it like I think I said this last week, if you hold a lightsaber to it. If you had that ability, it would cut through it. It just can't. It doesn't have time to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's
so
not
cool.
as strong as Beskar, but it's advantageous when you're in a fist-to-fist fight with a fucking Jedi. Like, and that's fucking cool. I love this whole thing. But anyway, he says that she should try the helmet on. But she says that she doesn't trust him, and he says that she shouldn't, but she should learn to trust herself. And he walks away, and she looks at the helmet. But later on, a contingent of Jedi arrive on Kofar, and they make their way to the surface, and deep into the jungle they find the remains of Jeki, Yord, and several other Jedi.
Ooh.
They'd previously been informed of the potential Umbramoth attack, but it is clear now that this is not what happened, as, Jeki has 3 lightsaber gouges in her chest, and others have other things. Did we see a decapitated Jedi here?
I don't think so. At least I didn't pick it up. There were some bodies on the ground, but
maybe it was blocked off by the tree, like perfectly at the. There's one that's like shoulders are visible and their head is not, and I can't tell if it's because a tree cuts it off or if it's the ground. I didn't pause to linger on it or anything, but I feel like there's something there. But upon investigation, Vernestra senses what may have happened through the Force and asks Mog what he thinks happened. He says there was an explosion followed by a battle. One man versus all of them. Someone intensely powerful, skilled, erratic. It is then that an Umbramoth strikes down, but Vernestra ends it swiftly with her light whip. And she points out that everybody was felled by a lightsaber. What does this tell you? And the Padawan says that, well, a powerful Jedi has fallen. And he questions, you don't think it could have been Sol, do you? And she says that is an intense accusation. And he questions who else it could have been. Who else could have this level of power? And that's when Vernestra turns away and talks to herself for a moment and says something to tip the scales. Yeah, man. She's putting it together that her former fucking Padawan is killing Jedi.
Don't see how this can go many other ways.
I don't either, man. And I do think it's a foreshadowing that Sol has touched the dark side and will again. You don't think Sol could have done this, do you? This is a very powerful Jedi, I don't think he'll fall to the dark side, but I think he'll touch it. I think he will engage the dark side to try to fight Chimere.
Did maybe Chimere wanted Sol as his pupil maybe at one point? Is that a possibility? And Sol almost gave in, did not, and that's the maybe she does. I
think he'd be much more familiar to Sol if that was the case.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty memorable instance.
Yeah, it's gotta be. It's gotta be Chimere. It's just. I was trying to find any way.
When she turns away, I think she's going. She either knows it's a Sith. Internally she knows. Okay, it's a Sith, and she doesn't want to say it out loud.
Yeah.
Or she's going, oh, I actually know who did this.
That's the interesting part, because is it just that they don't want the Sith to even exist? So even the mention of them, that's why they have to cover up anything that's Sith-like, is because they don't even want Jedi to even think that they're out there at all remotely. I don't know. That could be the reason she's wanting to hide it, or it's her fuck up.
We see, it's her fuck up, but also there's the threats against the Jedi right now coming from the Senate, and if the Jedi appear weak, how much does that affect them?
That's her reason for the cover up. She has to, because they're going to be under review.
That's
ooh.
And that's why she's dealing with the bureaucratic stuff while also I think dealing with a personal thing, and I think it's going to. I mean, I really don't want it to happen. I fear Vernestra's not long for this world. I'd prefer she lived. I don't want to see Vernestra die because I have a much deeper history with her than any of these other characters. But I didn't even consider that a possibility coming into the show. I thought that was off limits. You know what I'm saying? I thought it was okay, well, at least I know Vernestra's going to make it out. And now I'm I don't know. This might be the way they decide to end her fucking story.
Osha kind of needs a lightsaber, and I wonder if it'll just be taken off the dead body of a Jedi, and Osha's lightsaber feels
so
like
cool
Vernestra's.
If we get to watch.
I don't know why. Yeah. It feels like that's the one she would get.
I think the one she'd get is Sol's.
I guess that makes sense.
Her former master.
But I feel destroy. I wouldn't want to. Would you want to keep that as you
I mean, if you take it and bleed the crystal, that's sacrilege, essentially. You know what I'm saying?
Fair.
It's.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, I didn't.
It'd be cool if we saw. It would be super cool if we get to see the first bleeding of a crystal in live action. I think that would be fucking awesome. But we don't have enough time. I don't think. I think with 2 episodes left, we're not. That's what makes me think. and maybe I'm hoping against hope here, that there will be a season 2 of the show. I would love if there's a season 2 of this show.
I didn't think I wanted it, but yeah.
The closer we get to the end, I'm like, I mean, I think it's possible to wrap up this story, but now there's more possibility for more story than I'd ever really considered. You know, like, how long does this battle take? If Vernestra makes it out of the season, how long does she try to keep the Sith under wrap? Is she the reason we don't know the Sith exist come the prequels? You know, like, is that...
Yeah.
And does that happen by the end of this season? Doesn't feel like it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I didn't think I wanted a season 2. I thought the story feels like it's going in one direction. The mystery feels like it can only be the story, but...
I don't know.
What if... Yeah, I'm like, I think there could be now, and I didn't think that at the start of the season, or even just a couple episodes ago. But now all of a sudden, the mythology of the show's just gotten so fucking rich that I'm in. But yeah, Vernestra says to herself something to tip the scales, and then Mog questions why he would have done this, and then sent them a distress call. So he's kind of like, well, that's fucking stupid. Sorry, I even said that. And then Vernestra ends the investigation and says it's time to prepare the bodies for burial. And back on Soul's ship, May awakens strapped to the med bay. Soul tells her he will not hurt her. But he has thought about what he would say to her if he could for 16 years. So she will listen. And he is fucking scary during this scene. This is why this scene is really why Lee Jung-jae is getting my performance. The way his hand is like resting next to her face.
Yeah.
And she's like looking at it, and he's like, it looks bad. Like it's, and frankly, I don't know how there's nothing doing that besides Lee Jung-jae. You know what I'm saying? That like the writing, the words could be very, very nice. Yeah. You know, I've been thinking about what I wanted to say to you for 16 years if I could. So I'm going to say it and you're going to listen. But he says it like, I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
And you are going to listen.
I've been thinking about this every fucking day for the last 16 years, and I can't wait to finally... Yeah, no, the dude is...
And she's nervous. He's going to do something to her. You know, so also credit to Amanda Stenberg. I don't want to say it's all Lee Jung-jae. The way that they perform horrified is really, really good. And it makes this tension just wonderful. But he says she will listen. And then we cut away, and we cut to the helmet sitting on its dais right in front of a vein of cortosis.
She's going to hear this conversation. That's how she's going to hear it. The helmet's going to be on. She's going to connect to May, and she's going to hear this from Soul. Holy shit. I was like, why put on the helmet and just black out? You know, not even a visual of her seeing anything, nothing. And I'm like, I don't know. I couldn't connect it, but I don't know.
That's a good idea. The way that her and May possess a clear, deep, deep connection in the Force.
Maybe she can like help her.
She's there.
She can release her cuffs. I don't know. Like how Kylo can hand off a saber.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe there's something that can be done there.
Ooh, I'd like that. I'd like that a lot. That was a good idea. That had not occurred to me. But yeah, Osha picks it up and puts it on. Just her, the Force, and what she brought with her.
With her, a lot of confused emotions, that's for sure. Chimera has stirred the pot.
Yeah.
But
there's a reason he left it there in the same, he wants this, you know, everything right now is going fucking swimmingly for Chimera. He is exactly to plan. Thank you very much. I love this show, man. 5 and 6 have made this. It's elevated it from a good show to a great show. And I think if it can stick the landing, we're looking at the second best season of Star Wars TV.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It has to do some fucking insane shit to beat Andor. I don't think it will, but it's there, right? It's second. It could be second, I should say.
Yeah. Mando season 1. That's
tough to beat. That's a good fucking season.
We're in that realm though. That's crazy. We're not in Ahsoka realm. We're not in Boba Fett realm. I don't know. No. At least for my personal taste.
Yeah, for me, this is better than that.
Yeah, we're up there, and I don't know. Even his ship that's out there, it's like, hey, you can go swim and escape whenever you want, but it's like she really gonna even make that? Is it like a actual that she can make that? But his ship, I don't know, looked very much like Darth Maul's. What he fucking goes around in all the time, and in I don't know, is that just a
Pretty
Sith?
sure it's called the scimitar or something like that. Yeah.
Is it just like a commonly used Sith, dark? They just use that shit, or I don't know if there was some connection there, at all. But
I read something last night. I cannot remember where. Give me a moment, because this could be enlightening.
The ship
I did
from
not,
the ship, or?
Yeah. Yeah, here, hold on. Let me...
Maybe that's how he gets there. It's like a holocron. Isn't that like a holocron ship? I don't know. Maybe Maul... Is that why he uses it? I think any holocron can be hooked up to any ship, I guess. That's not like a ship-specific thing.
Yeah. Scimitar, also known as It's known as the Sith Infiltrator.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. I feel like I read something about... It is suspected that the ship, the Scimitar, was designed by the Sith Lord Darth Tenebrous.
Uh-oh. So, wait a minute. Oh, designed. Okay, so maybe... Okay, I was thinking like Chimere is this guy, but he could just be the... Tenebrous and Plagueis are the master. He was maybe one of Plagueis' apprentices. Yeah. I don't know, and...
Yeah, no, I didn't even consider that. I was like, I think I just read that last night, and I think it was in relation to Darth Tenebrous, and I'm glad I was right. But
I guess a character we have, still legends, right? There's nothing of Tenebrous at all canonically.
There's like one canon story, and it was in like Star Wars Insider. It was like in a magazine, like easily malleable. One of those things that nobody is going to be like, you broke canon, actually someone will still be like, you broke canon, but we're going to tell them to fuck off.
So he's maybe not even one of the two main guys, but maybe that's the whole point, is that it's like they're everywhere, actually. But
yeah, no,
wow.
I don't know, man. I don't know. But yeah, it's a good point. I thought the ship looked familiar too. I would need to see it again to tell you for sure. It looked like Darth Maul's ship to me.
The back, it folds up, and then whenever it goes, it folds down and takes off. That's why I remembered it. It's like the fold. It's one of my, I don't know. I love whenever ships take off in Star Wars. But okay, Tenebrous. How do you is Tenebrous?
I don't know. Yeah, let's see if they have a a little breakdown of such
Plagueis'
things.
master, at least.
Tenebrous. I gotta imagine it's Tenebrous.
Dark, shadowy, or obscure is the literal. I guess it just that's what it means. It's just a word. Didn't know that. I guess. Okay, Tenebrous.
Yeah, first mentioned in the current Star Wars canon in the 44th issue of the magazine Star Wars Build the Millennium Falcon.
Okay.
Yeah. Come on. It's very, very malleable. Originally introduced in The Tenebrous Way, a short story from Star Wars Insider in 2011, which was written by Matthew Stover, an incredible writer. He wrote the Revenge of the Sith novelization.
Okay, so yeah, cool. It doesn't feel like a spoiler of all these things, but some things are leading down a road where it's a little too specific. Like and
it could just be as simple as they are recontextualizing some Sith stories.
Yeah.
Like, it might not be Darth Tenebrous, but, like, we know these things are relating to a Sith master.
Mm-hmm.
And we know, like, it again, just like we could kind of guess that Chimere was the stranger, we can kind of guess that he has a Sith master. Like, we're not fucking idiots. Like, he doesn't feel like the top of the ladder here.
No. And maybe that is another one of his ploys. Maybe it's like, it's another layer of the onion, that he's the drunken fool that isn't the apprentice at first, and we think there's a master, but then he actually I don't know, it's all part of his plan.
Could be. But, yeah. Fuck. I'm going to do the plugs. Yeah, and then after the plugs, we're going to rate this episode. We do rate these episodes, right? We don't rate these?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
At least
we rate a lot of stuff all over the place. We don't rate these though. This would have been a good good rating though, for those curious. But I'm going to do the plugs, and then afterwards we're going to answer our Star Wars question of the week, which is, what is your earliest Star Wars memory, and or how did you get into the franchise? I'm going to answer a blend of both. But yeah, if you would, head to Twitter, follow at the Fulcrum Pod. That's where you can get any updates on what's going on here, what we're going to be doing, especially considering we only have 2 weeks left. We only have 7 and 8 left for the Acolyte Season 1, and we don't plan on stopping Fulcrum. However, we haven't precisely nailed down exactly what we're going to do. We are working on a few things. We are contemplating. We are brainstorming. So you will find out likely next week or the week after. But if you want to know probably even sooner, the place to be would be Twitter. Follow at the Fulcrum Pod. You can also follow at Penny Bloom Pod, our kind of flagship show. That's for any larger news going on as it concerns what is currently being a House of the Dragon podcast, Fire and Bloom, and Cinema Surprise on Fridays. That's a lot of fun. Like this Friday, we are covering Babylon, and I'm very excited for that. We would love if you would go check that out. And next Monday, we are on House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 4. God damn, that season is going by fucking slow. I feel like we are so deep in that, but we're only 3 episodes. Okay. Wow. Yeah, so Season 2, Episode 4 next Monday on the Penny Bloom Pod. And for any more tertiary anything, you can follow me at Koro_Bloom. But first and foremost, at the Fulcrum Pod. Go check that out. You can leave a 5-star rate and review wherever you might be listening and download the episodes. We would appreciate that. Share us with a buddy. Share us with a friend. I know you know somebody who loves Star Wars. Show them us. Do it. I would appreciate it. I would love you forever. Let's see. You can watch us on YouTube. Look up the Fulcrum Pod or Fulcrum, a Star Wars podcast. We are there. You should definitely watch. That's a lot of fun. I've always got my High Republic books on display. I got a little Obi-Wan Kenobi action going over here. A little bit of Mando. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. With that, let's answer the question of the week. What was your earliest Star Wars memory, and or how did you get in the franchise? This was, again, asked by the same person who asked last week. This is Jocelyn once again. Shout out, Jocelyn. Appreciate you so much. One of the best Twitter mutuals you can have, at Tauntaun Soup. Shoot her a follow. But, what was it for you?
Had a conversation with the parents. I had to know, because it goes back beyond where my brain turned on. So before I could keep memories. And they said the toys were always in the house. I had some older cousins that were into Star Wars, so some of them kind of came from there. We had a lot of the same toys, but specifically, a cousin that lived in Colorado was super into Star Wars and decided to tell us like we needed to watch them, and was the first driving factor to get our family to watch the movies, actually. But yeah, it was at first just the toys that we played with first. I had just a bunch of the action figures and a bunch of stuff from leftover cousins. And then it's the prequels for me. Those are the earliest memories. It's pretty much only the prequels that I watched when I was young. Anakin and Obi-Wan, that was me and my brother. We would fight all the time. I don't know how many bruises we had from those plastic sabers. Just going a little bit too hard, eventually.
Right.
But it started off with the toys and just movie nights with the family. Me or my brother, we'd pick Revenge of the Sith. That's what we're watching, no matter what. Sometimes I'd like to spice it up and throw in Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones, but it was a prequel. The
prequels, it was a prequel.
Prequel baby.
I was right there with you growing up. It's actually funny. My parents were not Star Wars people. I was introduced to Star Wars by my Uncle Jeremy, which was one of my dad's best friends ever. Still is. Still see him quite regularly. And I'm always incredibly thankful that he introduced me to Star Wars. I've told the story for so long that I've started to believe it. I don't know how much I do believe it. But I don't know. I don't remember much before it. That my first memory is being scared of the Wampa in Empire Strikes Back, the snow monster.
Yeah.
I
That's
feel
an
like that
early
is
one.
that is that is an early one. You know, like I don't remember much before that. I remember very early being like, I don't know how much I want to watch this movie because I want to skip past the beginning because I'm afraid of the fucking Wampa. You know what I'm saying? Like I was horrified of that thing. So that's one of the earliest memories I have, was being scared of it. But I'm the same. A lot of toys, a lot of I had a friend. Oh, you know what? I should have done this before the show. If you want to hold the listener over, I'm going to grab one of the lines of toys. I'm looking at it. Okay. I've had them since I was a child.
Go grab
I'll be
that
right
thing.
back.
Yeah. No, I was Hoth. You bring it. Yeah. I can't believe I didn't think of the OT, but out of the OT, Hoth is definitely the most memorable. I don't know. Maybe it is just snow. Maybe I do obsess with planes, but at least whenever they're tying up the AT-ATs with the cables behind their ships, that's a very early memory, and it might be because I was afraid of good old Wombat, but then, yeah, wow, I guess, I don't know. I guess I thought a lot of my childhood memory only came from the prequels, but 100%. I got the OT too. Let's see what you got.
So I know they have a more official name. I don't know what it is. I never looked into it. Me and a friend, when I was in kindergarten, first grade, his name was Jackson. We would hang out at the park at one of each other's houses, whatever, and we would battle with our Star Wars little guys.
Okay.
These little guys? You ever have the little guys?
Whoa! What's going on with the feet? The boots?
Huge feet. But yeah, here a little closer to the camera. That's a clone trooper.
Wow!
I only grabbed 2 examples, so here's 3PO.
I've never.
I loved these things, dude. These were a staple for my Star Wars fandom when I was younger, and these are beat to shit. I've had them for at least 20 years.
Damn, yeah, I've never seen the little guys or the little dudes.
Dude, I'm sure they're called like minifigures or something. I have no idea what they were, who made them. I've had them for longer than I can remember. I came into consciousness and these were my fucking toys, you know? So they were extremely important. I had a little Boba Fett one that I loved, and I even had them before I really knew who the characters were. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's another interesting level of the leap in Star Wars fandom. You always loved Star Wars. You know, you always loved, you liked watching the movies, you liked playing with the toys. This is more a question for me, and I think it does relate to what Jocelyn asked. When did that happen for you? When you started taking an interest in specifics and like a good example is I remember, I think The Force Awakens really reinvigorated my fandom for Star Wars. It wasn't that it was dying. It wasn't that it was lost, but it reminded me of how much I loved it when I was a kid. Or very small. I was still a kid when The Force Awakens came out, but much younger kid when I was in love with Star Wars and the idea of Star Wars, you know. But there was a point, like, until not long ago, that whenever you asked me, like, what was Han Solo frozen in, I just said fucking concrete. You know what I'm saying? Like, not carbonite, until probably sometime in the last 6 to 8 years. You know, like, so it's interesting to have latched onto it relatively late in comparison to how long my relationship goes with it. Like, there was a very long time where I was content with my liking the movies, not really grasping specifically how it all connects, just kind of being like, yeah, I like this movie. That's a good movie. I like this one too. That's a good movie. But like, there was a period of my life where I had a tough time grasping the prequels versus the originals and what order they went in, and like, and all that stuff, you know, like, and obviously that wasn't quite The Force Awakens that it made me realize that, but to give you an idea of how out of the loop I was in terms of marketing and everything, when I went and saw Rogue One, I was like, why are none of the characters from The Force Awakens in this?
Yeah, I guess.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I was just kind of like, what's going on here? I'm like, okay, cool. It's a new Star Wars movie. And obviously I caught up, but like, it was like, I didn't pay attention. I was just like, new Star Wars movie. Fuck yeah. Gonna go see that. You know, and then I got there and I was like, that's not Rey. Where's Finn? You know, I'm like, what's going on here? But like, so it's relatively late that timelines mattered at all to me, that anything, like any of the specifics even clicked for me. And I think that speaks volumes about the power of the franchise, that like, even though I didn't give a shit about the specifics, the aesthetics of the story and the spirit of the story, they always speak to you, even if you aren't attached to it in the deepest sense.
Whenever you were off getting the toys, I thought that all my memories were prequels, but I was wrong. Like Hoth, whenever you brought up just
Hoth,
like
man.
Hoth is so memorable, and I was afraid in that cave. No, that's nightmare fuel. But the AT-ATs and tying them up with the cables, that's oh my god, that was
essential.
So in Trench Run from A New Hope, and then from Return of the Jedi, Luke, the last, at the Sarlacc pit, and where oh my god, what's his
Jabba?
Jabba. Oh my god, hello. Yeah, Jabba goes down. Like those scenes are like, those are the childhood scenes, and I didn't even think of that. I got like the OT in there too, but yeah, no, I guess
it's in there.
It was just like, it was part of the movie. I didn't care.
I remember. Dude, like Attack of the Clones was just seared into my brain as a child, like, it's funny how you remember, like, that's why I think whenever we talk about stuff and we're like, gosh, that's a little scary, like for kids, like this is a kid's thing. Yeah, it's a kid's thing. That's exciting when you're a kid. Like the little creepy crawly that tries to assassinate Padme at the beginning of Attack of the Clones.
Yep.
I fucking love that scene, and it scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. And that was, I mean, obviously the Duel of the Fates. I didn't know it was the Duel of the Fates. I was like, whenever Darth Maul comes out and he tries to kill the Jedi, that's cool. I mean,
wow.
Got to talk about Lego Star Wars.
Oh, come on.
Quintessential, dude.
Just
the pod racing level.
No, maybe we don't talk about that one. I don't know. Why was it so hard as a kid? It was so goddamn hard. That's why we hated the Tusken Raiders. Honestly, like
that was why.
That is why I hated them. It's just ding, ding. The sounds of the game are.
God, I remember the level when you are getting to the Duel of the Fates and you're like running around the little things and you have to double jump in between them, and you run and you jump and it's rolling all the way around and you fall off the side, and like, God, dude, like, so to answer the question, I have a deep, rich history with Star Wars, and it's grown to be much deeper, obviously, but I mean, shit, I feel like it's hard to recall. I'm fairly certain we saw The Last Jedi together.
I think so. I think
did we go to Michael's house after?
That does kind of.
Does that ring a bell?
That does kind of seem right, actually. Because I know Force Awakens was, I think, with who was that with? Maybe my family.
I was with Trenton.
Yeah, I don't actually know.
I was with Trenton because we came back to the basement here and we talked about it. It was like me, Trenton, maybe Michael was there too. I can't remember, but I remember Trenton because he was like, "Dude, Rey's fucking hot," and I'm like, "Yeah, Rey's a beautiful woman." Trenton.
Very Trenton of him. Yeah. But I think that I don't know. I don't know for sure if I did, but that kind of does seem right.
I know me and you. I'm fairly certain about us seeing The Last Jedi, and I know for a fact we saw The Rise of Skywalker together.
Last Jedi.
I know that certainly.
Maybe. Where was I? Wow.
Yeah. I saw Solo with Tavares, and again, to give you a feel for how different my relationship with Star Wars was even 6 years ago. I was confused at the end when Maul showed up. I was like, wait, the Empire. Empire, Maul got sliced in half. What the fuck are we doing? Like, I was 18 when I went and saw that movie. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like the richness of me taking in the Clone Wars and like.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's when you dive into the Clone Wars and Rebels is whenever you really.
when you've made it.
Maybe that's the threshold, but.
Funny enough, like, one of the things that struck me about the Clone Wars when I was watching it the first time, I was like, I feel like I watched the Clone Wars when I was younger, but it wasn't this. you know? And it wasn't.
Maybe...
It was the 2D micro series Clone Wars, the things that popped up that were like 3 minutes long in between stuff on Cartoon Network. Do you remember those?
I mean, I remember the visuals of it somehow, so I guess it had to have gotten to my brain.
It's in there. Like, that's the thing, is that, like, it's just there, you know? Like, I mean, the visuals of, like, Anakin with the blue shoulder thing coming over and everything, and the scar over, like, it's just, like, a long, rich history with Star Wars, and probably the sequels reinvigorated it. Disney Plus cemented it, like, having access to Star Wars anytime ever changed the game.
That's huge.
Because I mean, like, I guess to be more accurate about it, I didn't watch the Clone Wars until I had Disney Plus.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's
you know
how I saw it.
So, like, that was 2019.
Wow. There you go. Yeah, no way I watched it before Disney Plus. Yeah, no shot.
And
so
like, all within the last 5 years, I'd say my relationship with Star Wars has grown from a childish wonderment to a deep interest in the mythology and the world they've created. You know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, no, long, rich history, but it's fascinating to think about how it is within the last few years that I've really, really attached to it.
I still haven't finished it, but I started a book of Star Wars, and I don't read books,
right?
And I like, it's a thing I want to do more of, but like I would never have done that even before, and I guess maybe the relation, it's still just an ever changing relationship that you'll just deeper and deeper, and that's the universe they've built, is that you can do that. You can start as a kid and live your life and still find new things and love it even more. But
yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, like, I've got 18 Star Wars books right here that I've read. I have read these, and these aren't all the Star Wars books I have.
One day I'll get there. One day, whenever I can just read a book in general. God damn it. Get it? I don't know. I just gotta.
You got this.
Get that ability back. But
I mean, comics, dude. I can't wait. I can't wait to dive in. Like, that's one of the things. I'll spoil that we're considering for a post Acolyte is some Star Wars comics. Digging into those a little bit. I would love to show Joe Dr. Aphra. I love Dr. Aphra. But yeah, no, got a lot. But when I'm like, if we're gonna cover Dr. Aphra, should we cover that entire era of comics, because they have tie-ins and they have crossovers and
a lot to think about.
There's so lot to plan, lot to potentially talk about. But regardless, thank you, Jocelyn, for the question once again. We're happy you have officially become a listener of our show, and I appreciate you greatly. But yeah, with that, we will conclude this episode of Fulcrum, a Star Wars podcast, and we will be back next week with the penultimate episode of The Acolyte. I was Colton Robertson. I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. And remember, peace, love, and bloom. And you think it's his strength? That's your strength in the Force, Osha. Someone ought to teach you that.